There you go. Figured it out.
Did you start?
All right, Kyle, get started.
Okay, so the overpopulation of white-tailed deer. So as you can see, deer in that photo, very malnourished, not enough food. Like our deer lease 20 years ago, that's what the majority of the deer looked like. Okay, so in the last 100 years, the white-tailed deer population has grown 4,000%, from 500,000 to over 20 million, yet less space to live in. Okay, causes of overpopulation. So loss of habitat is a big one. So as urban development continues, deer have less and less space to live in, yet there's more deer. So simply not enough food, or not enough land growing food, and they have a smaller space to live in. Okay, improper state management of wildlife. So the state, well, Texas and a few other states do a pretty good job. Texas Parks and Wildlife is amazing, and Texas Managed Lands Deer Program is really good. But the majority of states are managing the number of tags sold to hunters and not the number of deer actually being killed. So they're not working with biologists like the Texas Managed Lands Deer Program. They're just going off of how many tags are being sold. They're managing the hunters instead of the herd. Okay, the reduction of small farms. So as small farms become fewer and fewer and are going to these just single big farms, deer are less spread out. So used to, like in the older days, everybody used to farm. That's kind of how you fed your family, but for the most part. So deer are more spread out over land, and they would eat these crops to survive. So now a lot of these deer, either there aren't farms where they are, but they stayed, so there's a lack of food there, or they're all staying around the big farms, causing a lot of overpopulation around the larger farms. Hunting restrictions. So this is a more common problem more up north and in urban areas. So hunting, it's hard to hunt when the deer are living in the middle of a city. Take Walden, for example. Can't really kill deer in Walden because it's just not safe. Lack of predators is a big one. So most deer are killed when they're fawns, when they're babies, before they can run from predators. That's when they're going to be eaten, bobcats, coyotes. So the lack of predators is you're just going to have less deer being eaten, higher population. Okay, so why is overpopulation a problem? Like I mentioned earlier, there just simply not being enough food. So like I said, there's a smaller area for them to live in, and the more deer, so they're having obviously problems eating. Our deer lease 20 years ago, I don't know if y'all know what yopon is, kind of like a brush plant, and it looks like Christmas trees because deer will eat yopon. It's not their favorite thing to eat, but it's all they had to eat. So literally everything to chest height was gone because they were just eating sticks basically. Migration of other species. So deer will eat, they're not like us, or they are like us. They don't eat everything that's green. We don't call something random in the forest green, it's a vegetable, we eat it. No, and deer don't do that either. So when they are eating these foods that they share with other animals, not only do deer have to migrate to find more food, so do the other animals. So you can be left with the lack of multiple different species in an area, not just deer, or a lot of deer and less of other animals. Damaging ecosystems. So when deer eat all of a food source in a certain area, it's not like next spring it's all going to grow back and be like it never happened. You can have semi-permanent to even permanent damage on an ecosystem with deer's food sources coming back, especially in a timely manner. So disease is a big one. So basically, more condensed population, you're going to have problems with disease spreading faster. So you're going to have things like EHD, or blue tongue disease, and CWD, chronic wasting disease. And both of those not only affect the deer and other animals in the population, but anything that eats those deer, when they die, buzzards, hunters, you have to be careful because you can get sick from these diseases. Deer-human conflict. So deer eat a lot of crops, obviously, gardens. You're gonna have traffic accidents. I know Beverly's hit at least one deer. She's hit a lot of stuff, at least one deer. But traffic accidents are gonna be more common. That can cause insurance rates to go up in a condensed area where there's a lot of deer. So you have problems from that. And can result in overpopulation of predators once the deer population is balanced. So as the deer population rises, the predator population will also rise. And if you take care of that deer population too quickly, you can be left with an overpopulation of predators. That's why when hunting, if you go in to take care of an overpopulation issue, you have to kill predators too, otherwise you'll be left with an unbalance and you'll have an overpopulation of predators. Okay, the solutions. Hunting is proven to be the most effective solution and is also the only economical solution. Hunters will actually go pay to take care of this problem for you versus everything else costs money. So hunting, well, yeah. So introduction of more predators. This one isn't used very often because, like I mentioned with the predator overpopulation issue, but it can be used more in rural areas where the predators can go somewhere after taking care of a deer population around farms or fenced in areas. They'll put predators inside of to keep the deer out. Physical barriers, just physically blocking the deer off from where they need to be. That's why all gardens, well, especially in the country, they're all gonna have fences around them because otherwise you wouldn't be able to grow anything. It would all be eaten by a deer. So capture and relocation. This one's expensive, definitely not economical, takes a lot of time, and it's not very effective because you have to have a lot of trucks to move these deer, and there's not always some place right down the road where you can take them. You may have to drive a long ways. Contraceptives, so this is going to be multiple different strategies to keep the does from getting pregnant. So the deer will still try to breed, but no babies, and that's not in all deer, obviously, that's just in a percentage of the population to keep them from having babies so that the population will go down. So deer versus plants, like I said, deer don't eat everything green in the forest. So one of the big things is if you don't have to have deer versus plants, like obviously crops, deer like to eat crops. So you can't just get rid of them because we need those to eat, we farm them, so you can't just get rid of them. But if it's an area where you don't need to have those plants, get rid of them, keep the deer out. Chemical repellents, things like on crops that you have to grow no matter what, you can put chemical repellents on it to keep the deer and other animals away. Farmers do that for insects and all kinds of stuff, just to keep stuff out of their crops. Okay, conclusion. Because there are both lethal and non-lethal methods for controlling the white-tailed deer population, as well as budget-conscious options, there is no reason to not take care of this overpopulation issue. And that's it.